Garrett with Around Town Dumpster Rental and Junk Removal here. Monday morning, about 5:15. I'm waiting at the North Gateway transfer station for them to open. Got a pretty busy morning, stacked with some dumpsters, which is really cool. Emptying this one. We used this at an event over the weekend. I also did a tree job with it on Saturday night. So I'm gonna get this 12-yard emptied and then have two 20-yard dumpsters to deliver to a brush job that we worked with another contractor to load. So we're bringing two 20-yard dumpsters. They're gonna load it with a big old skid steer that has a grapple on it. That way we don't have to touch any branches. That's the goal, at least. And then another customer that needs a replaced 20 yards. So we're gonna pull it and return it. I think that's the terminology I'm learning. And then after that, we have two junk jobs. So just a couple small things. One of them's a cactus that came down, and then another customer in Cave Creek has a few small things. So should be a busy day. Little exciting, trying to fix some valve issues on the dumpster trailer. It's not working right. There's a valve that's getting stuck, and it happens to be the valve that tilts the dumpster up. So last night we were pulling it apart, trying to figure out how the solenoids work, and those all seem to work, and trying to figure out if it was the remote, maybe a wiring issue. Nope, swapped wires around, got it to function. And man, anytime you get a new piece of equipment, stuff's not working right, you gotta tear into it, and that's how you learn how it works, right? You learn how to fix it. Not really enjoyable trying to learn how to fix new equipment though. So I was texting the owner of the manufacturer of Protainer over the weekend, and he did get back to me, but I'm hoping to get more information to him and from him today, and maybe get some replacement solenoids or valves just to have on hand. So the valve slides back and forth in this, I don't know, housing. I don't know what all the terms are, but it seems to be getting stuck. So in order to get the dumpster to tilt up, we gotta push the button on the remote and use a screwdriver and manually push pretty hard on the valve to get it to slide open. So hopefully that combination technique will get us through the day. We got dumpsters to move around, so I didn't want to cancel all these jobs. All right, just getting to our next stop, and it's this brush pile. It's hard to see with the sun coming right at us, but there's a good amount of brush in here, and it goes all the way down to that next gate. So in between these two gates, there's a good volume. So I'm gonna put the dumpster right here on the side of this road and go back and get another one. Excavator should be here soon. It's light out now, pushing 8 o'clock, and I got the next dumpster loaded, headed back out to, this is like Cave Creek area, Tatum and Dynamite kind of location. Anyhow, running the next dumpster out there. The company that's loading the dumpster should already be on site, and hopefully getting started. So this is a one-day job that for sure we're gonna fill one dumpster. The second dumpster we may leave there for a few days and let the property owner continue to fill it up if there's room. So that's the next couple steps of the day. A lot more to do today. So let me get back to what I was saying earlier in regards to the valve. I'll start with this. Typically when Protainer sells a trailer, customers fly out to their location and get some sort of formal introduction to the trailer and have a better understanding, from what I'm told, of the components. that wasn't our situation. I didn't have time to fly over there and talk to them, and I wasn't picking up the trailer. We had a third party ship it to us. So a company in Phoenix went out and hired a trucking company to bring it to us. So anyways, long story short, we didn't get like a ton of training on this thing, let alone paperwork. We had one book that came about the Kohler engine. So the motor's made by Kohler. So there's a little booklet about that. But in general, we didn't receive a lot of instruction information about how the functions of the trailer work. So yesterday, we pulled the cover off the motor. We're looking at it. We're like, well, what do we do here? Obviously, the motor is gas and it powers the hydraulic pump. And these valves send hydraulic fluid to the different components to move, whether it's the reeving system or the tilt up or down or the jack. So there's 6 valves on this system, and we didn't really have a diagram of which valve did what. And eventually we figured out that there's little red lights, and I'll show you these, that will light up on each of the valves as you hit the button on the remote. So we had to sort out, what could there be an issue with the remote? Maybe that button's just not working. So we would switch wires on the solenoids to see if we could get that specific button to actually fire a function on the trailer, and that worked. So we ruled the remote out. Then it was like, well, maybe this wire's bad. So we took a wire that we knew worked and stuck it to the tilt up function. It still didn't work. So like, okay, let's take the solenoid off and take that apart, and it all looked pretty intact. There's nothing obviously wrong with it that we could tell. And not being hydraulic, equipment mechanics, we're just looking through it, trying to figure it out. And my father-in-law helping me. And then eventually he gets the guts to pull the valve out. And it was really pretty stuck. And that was it. That it turned out to be our issue, is that the valve is supposed to slide back and forth inside of this tube. There's this little metal component, and it's not real big, and it's supposed to move back and forth, and it just was getting stuck. So either something was machined wrong, or there's a little chunk of an O-ring. Who knows what it is, but we were able to jostle back and forth and get the valve out twice. We had to do that to force it to work. So long story short, we have a better understanding of how these valves work and to operate the hydraulics. And ultimately, if this persists to be an issue, then we'll get some replacement parts, whether it's solenoids or actual valves, and have those on hand. Spare parts. All right, this dumpster is already loaded. These guys are getting after it. An efficient Bobcat Operator. Skid steer, I guess they call it. Not a Bobcat, it's the brand, right? So this is all going to the next pile. So much easier than loading it by hand. Awesome. Well, Dylan was making quick work of that pile. He's good on that machine. And in 1 hour, he got this dumpster filled up. Maybe it was there less than an hour. I don't know. But it took me about an hour or more round trip to go get another container. And by the time I got back, he had already had this one full. So he's working on the next one now. I'm gonna go dump this dumpster, return it to our yard, and then go empty another dumpster for a customer in Desert Hills, return it back to him, and then come check in on how the second dumpster went. I may leave it there for a few more days, but it's not a long drive, and I want to make sure it's tucked out of the way so it's not blocking that driveway. But yeah, one step at a time. At some point I need to get breakfast and coffee. It's 8:40. I started a little bit earlier today, which felt good. Got after it a little before 5 a.m. So probably coming up on 4 hours of work right now. and starting to get hungry. Just rolling over the scales. This first dumpster has 2,800 pounds of tree branches in it. And I'm so glad I didn't have to load that by hand. Let's go get it emptied. All green. One more dumpster picked up. Chain, it's all latched. Tarp, ready to roll. So heading to the dump and trying to make use of time on the road this morning to make phone calls. We had an interesting situation. I'm curious to know if anybody watching this has had the same scenario unfold. We had a customer a few weeks ago in August that called for a same-day dumpster, and he didn't want to book online. He just wanted to pay. He wanted to pay online though, but he didn't actually want to like submit all the forms and stuff. And there was a bit of a language barrier. He only spoke Spanish. I only spoke English. Well, he paid for the dumpster. We delivered it. Super nice person. Got it done. And we thought that was the end of it. Then last week, we get a notification from QuickBooks, that's our accounting software, that we had a credit card charge disputed. And instantly, I had a feeling it was that guy. Just because there's so many unknowns with a language barrier. We had everything in writing though, in text messages. I just had to translate from Spanish to English, back to Spanish. It was quite a production on my end to do that for the customer. But I was happy to do it. Glad to get another dumpster booked. Well, he disputed, whoever had the credit card disputed that transaction. So there's either one of two things. Either he's just trying to get a free dumpster and doesn't want to pay for it, or he used someone else's credit card and that person could be disputing it. I figure that's the more likely scenario, but we disputed it. We filed all the paperwork and then we lost. We lost the dispute. So aside from showing up at this guy's house with, some persuasion to get paid, I'm gonna continue the paperwork with Visa and QuickBooks and try to get paid that way without having to deal with a confrontation. A $425 dumpster, I'd rather not eat that. Heading back to that customer's property now with an empty 20-yard dumpster. This will be the third dumpster he's rented from us in the last week. And we did 4 loads of junk for him in our trailer. Not all of those were full loads. The first one was all steel. The second one was like a quarter load of aluminum and more steel. And then we did a load of trash. And then the last load was a quad. So an ATV, pretty cool. We're hoping we can get it working and maybe keep it. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, that makes 4 trailers and 3 dumpsters. They're doing a big cleanup. So far so good. No mechanical failures or hydraulic issues yet. I don't know what happened. Maybe something was in the fluid that worked its way through a hose and plugged up the valve. I really don't know. I'm not a hydraulic specialist, but I've been going back and forth with the owner today, trying to figure out what makes sense that they can offer us. And even though hydraulics are warranted for 1 year on this trailer, what you have to do is you have to go to a hydraulic shop and foot the bill for their labor and then have them take the parts and ship them back to the hydraulic manufacturer, and then only the parts are covered under warranty, not the labor. So it doesn't even really seem worth it to go through that warranty process when you're gonna be out of a trailer for a week or two, plus have to pay for a hydraulic mechanic. So I don't know. It might just make better sense to order some spare parts and have a solenoid and a valve on hand in case something like this happens again. I'm really not sure. If you run equipment, are those parts that you normally stock? If you have hydraulics, like, do you typically hang on to a couple extra parts like solenoids and valves? Is that standard? I really don't know. Beautiful desert hills. Just stopped over here to get a plate of fruit. One of these fruit stands on the side of the road. So delicious. Fruta picada. This whole square back behind is a square mile, and it can't be developed. Check it out. That is what's up. The red powder is tahini, covers it with lime juice, and then they have this red sauce called chamoy. Ooh, that's breakfast and lunch right there. So this is like a night and day difference. 40 yards of brush was stuffed in here, in between the trees, all along this wall, and it needed to go away. Neighbors were starting to complain. So thank you to Sean Connolly and his son for really helping us out with this. It's a tremendous job. How full is she? She's pretty full. There's a little more space maybe. Might put it in a better location and let the homeowner fill it up a little more. So it looks like there's definitely some space. You could fill in these gaps on each end. But challenge is all that soil. It's really heavy. So we're probably over on weight. So we're gonna check in with the customer and probably take it with us. It's working again. Just looking at the tires, I suspect it's a couple of tons. Just the way they're sitting like that. Kind of bulge down the bottom. Yeah, I figure it's a couple of tons. I only had 1 ton included in each of these dumpsters, so we'll see how far over it is. Driving through a construction zone right now. I've gone over this road, I don't know, four or five times a day, and I'm just noticing how nobody goes the speed listed on the work zone speed limit sign. And if you do go that speed, people ride your bumper. I was a pretty good driver before I moved to Arizona, but the traffic laws here are just, they almost seem more like suggestions. So I got 2 more junk removal jobs to do now that all my dumpster work is over and finished. Before I get to those jobs though, I need to get to our business networking group. That starts at 2 o'clock. So I got an hour to dump this, switch trailers, and get to the meeting. All right, the scale doesn't lie. We got about 3 tons in there right now, 5,900 pounds. I had a feeling this was kind of heavy, which is weird though, because when you look in the dumpster, there's less stuff in it in terms of volume than the first dumpster. The first dumpster was like 2,800 pounds. This one's 5,900. So all that soil, when the skid steer operator was like more or less scraping that area, trying to get all the little branches and brush out of the dirt, he ended up just scooping up a lot of soil. That stuff's heavy. I'm paying for it now. The button for the tarp right here. Get that going on. So what I was talking about earlier, see all these wires that go to these little black boxes? All those wires are controlled by a button on the remote. So when I push one of them, let me show you. See that lower left one down under there? Well, I actually gotta start the motor first to show you, but basically, you can see a red light come on when I hit the button on the remote. Look at all this green waste. Isn't that awesome? I'm supposed to compost all of it. Yeah! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Look at it go. Just got back up to Anthem. Got the dump trailer hooked up. Lunch in hand. Walking into our networking meeting late. 10 minutes. This is a hustle. It's a busy day. A lot of calls coming in. So thankful. Planning for work tomorrow. Yeah, this week is starting off with a banger. Happy Monday to y'all. All right, I escaped out of our networking meeting a little early, like 40 minutes early, but I got a half-hour drive to Cave Creek, 2 more jobs to do for junk removal, and one of the customers was more time sensitive than the other, so I kind of need to get over there. Well, if there was ever a way to adopt a grandpa, I think I just met mine, my new one. My grandpa's died when I was young. This guy is so cool. I just enjoyed the best conversation with him. It's amazing how one conversation like that can totally change your afternoon. Maybe you're getting low blood sugar or whatever, talk to a nice fun person, they'll perk you right up. So that was cool. Small job, let me show you what I grabbed, and then I'm gonna head over to the next stop and cut up a saguaro. Let's climb up here. So we got a wine cooler, an empty box, and a little table. It's like an end table kind of deal. So that should ride fine. We're gonna hit the road. Here's the saguaro, came out of the ground, and by the smell of it, it's been here rotting a few weeks at least. So I'm gonna cut it up probably into thirds, and I use the Sawzall, see how long the batteries last, the hay hook, the pitchfork, a dolly, get it over to the trailer, up the ramp, call it done. So once the big piece is gone, I'll dig around the base and try to make that stump go away. So let's get cutting. I got the first chunk of it out pretty quickly. I made a few cuts. The next chunk, and then 3 more, and then this straggler over here, and then I'll go about cleaning up and cut into the stump. All right, that last piece was pretty heavy. That's at least 3 feet long, foot thick, probably more on one end. That is dense. And then this little critter came crawling out of it. What do you think that is? It's really good at doing the worm. Y'all remember that dance move that the cool kids knew how to do? The really athletic break dancers? Man, that is the worm. Wow, that's impressive. I bet you never would have thought you'd see that today, right? You didn't expect that. We call that bonus material. I'm just getting ready to load the next piece. So I typically use a pitchfork, kind of roll it around a little bit just to make sure it's detached from the remainder of it. And then come around to the side of the dolly, and I get my hook. I go a little forward, and I try to grab onto something solid. Pull it back toward the dolly, and I press the dolly down. All right, so you can see the cactus came all the way over to here, and this area smells like sweet rotten cactus. You can see the dark lines in between the pavers where the juices were flowing. And this will need to get hosed off and brushed probably. But most of the thorns are picked up. I'm just working on the stump now. And I kind of pulled the gravel away from all around it. And yeah, it definitely is rotten. I mean, this thing's just coming out by hand. A lot of crickets underneath there too. So some type of pest has taken advantage of this plant. All done. I tore out one half of the stump. It came out with the part of the roots. The other half, I could not get to come out. And you can tell it's held onto some roots that are underneath this probably by a foot and then go horizontal. And I just didn't want to fight those. So cut them off, time to bury it. This will rot under grade. Should never see it again. Hosed off and brushed off the pavers. It really needs a pressure washer, but it's as if it never happened. So I'm gonna put my tools away and then go quote another one on the back side of the property. And this is the next saguaro that need removed. And I just didn't have it in me to get her done tonight. Didn't know about it until I got here. Ooh, you see what I see? I'll bet you that these webs in here are from black widows. I'd be surprised if they're not. Looks to me these have been here a while. Oh boy, I don't know. Makes a web like that. That tunnel, they going down in there like that. I don't know if I want a part of that. Well. This will be interesting. I'm not usually concerned about spiders when I'm taking these out, but clearly this has been here a while. And all the insects that have been drawn to it have created a home for a predator. I don't see a spider in the actual web. It must be hiding. Typically when I see black widows, it's at night or early in the morning. Doesn't seem like they're out during the day. Goodness, what's living in here? Ew. That's gonna be a wrap on the day. I may end up doing a quote on the way home, or I may not. I don't have the homeowner's phone number or address. I know they're cross streets. Probably find their house, but they've been communicating with me through email. Well, who does that? I don't know. Seems like email is fine to start the conversation, but should pretty quickly hop over to a phone call, in my opinion. But it's been a good day. Started at 5. It's gotta be after 5 now. I don't know. Good 12-hour day. They call that working half days. If you do it often enough, you might just earn a living. But broke a sweat a few times. Didn't do a ton of junk removal, mostly dumpsters today. Got the hat for dumpsters, the shirt for dumpsters, the truck and trailer for junk removal. That trailer for dumpsters earlier was pretty stressful over the weekend because I knew how many dumpsters I needed to touch today, and I was concerned those hydraulics were not going to work. So 6:30 at night, Sunday night, got to take it apart and put it back together, and it worked. So thankful for that. Thanks for watching. Our life right now is mostly junk removal with dumpsters sprinkled in. And as our junk removal company evolves over the next 18 months, I'd like to put employees into a Isuzu dump truck, most likely, so they can do the labor side of junk removal. Figure after 3 or 4 years I've put in my time and it's time to have some helpers, and I'd really like to get the dumpster business growing in a bigger way, so that would allow me to focus more time on it. So it's going to continue to evolve as our journey goes on. We're not forcing the growth, but we're enjoying the adventure. So come along with us, continue to watch the videos if you like it, and we'll share our experiences with you. Have a good night.